We're back. Just remember the phone lines are open. We are here to stand in the gap for you. If you've got a prayer request, a praise report, if you just need somebody to listen to you, you ever felt like that? Sometimes you just need somebody to listen, and that's what we're here for. We're here to listen and pray and stand in the gap for you. Right now I've got Hasani Pettiford here. He has written 10 books. He's an author. He's a speaker. He's a counselor. And he does TV. There's nothing this man has not done, and God is really using him. I got to just read you his title of one of his books. I love it. Because, you know, I like little things that are controversial anyway. Black Thighs, Black Guys, and Bedroom Lies.
Yes, ma'am.
What? Are we going there tonight?
Oh, we're going to go all the way.
I think we should. Because it's, like you said, it's your most requested book that you've written.
It is.
Why is that? Why do you think so? Because obviously it's about men and women and sexual relationships. Can I say that?
Sure.
Okay.
You know, for 14 years, I've been speaking on the topics of male and female interpersonal relationships and sexuality. And I would say a large percentage of my speaking engagements are on college campuses, but churches as well. And my #1 requested church, ironically so, topic in the church is Black Thighs, Black Guys, and Bedroom Lies. Because for a long time, sex has been one of those topics that have been inappropriate to deal with in the church, and we swept it under the carpet. But so many people are dying, so many people are struggling with this issue, and it's never dealt with from the pulpit. And so the way that God has graced me...
Why do you think that is?
You know what? Because the church
Are we scared of it?
I think so. I think so. I think all of our lives we've been taught, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
I was. Don't do it, don't even look at it, don't touch it, yeah.
And when we get married, we still have that deep within the recesses of our minds, don't do it.
Yes.
We associate it with something that's bad and dirty.
Right.
But it was created by God.
Right.
And as long as you're operating in the proper season, you can enjoy sex.
Well, what is going on with the young folk in the church? Let me say this to you. Let me ask you a question then, because this is your hot topic. This is what you start calling on. Do you think, and I'm just going to lay it out there, do you think young people are having more sex than our generation did, or do you think we're just hearing about it more with all the social media and Facebook?
I think it could be both. You have to understand that it seems as though there's been a tremendous moral decline. Yes, and things are just getting more carefree. You know, we live in a sexually saturated society.
It's crazy,
and so
when you are selling a deodorant, or Doritos chips or something with sex, I mean, that's crazy.
You know, in the Bible, it talks about the fivefold ministry, right?
Yes, and that's what Melvin and I were just talking about.
Yeah, he has the fivefold ministry for the perfecting of the saints. Well, Satan also has his fivefold.
Hello.
And he uses the media in all five folds: television, radio, print media, the internet, and film.
Yeah.
And he's sending out a message of sexual perversion, and it's really capturing the minds of a lot of our young people. And so, interestingly enough, even though I wrote Black Thighs, Black Guys, and Bedroom Lies, so many Christians read the book and said, Hasani, the issues you're talking about in this book also take place in the church. And that's why I wrote the follow-up book, which is entitled Pimpin' from the Pulpit to the Pews, Exposing and Expelling the Spirit of Lust in the Church. And it's...
That's going to get attention.
Well, you know what?
You know, it's going to get attention.
It is, and you know what? It's an issue that needs to be dealt with. And so we're not talking or exposing the church or exposing the body of Christ or the pastor.
It's an issue.
We're exposing the spirit of lust, masturbation, pornography, infidelity, homosexuality, every sexual sin that's in the Bible. We talk about and figure out how we need to expel that spirit out of the house so that we can become the beacon of light to the world that we were created to be.
Wouldn't you say it's tough to do that with this oversaturation that you're talking about?
It is, because I think that we have adopted the culture of the world and brought it into the church, and we've become so complacent. I think we've become so accepting, and it's okay to accept the sinner but not the sin. And I think either the church has been very dogmatic.
Well, how do you do that? How do you do that without judging or condemning?
Well, I think it's all.
You know what I'm saying?
I think it's all in your delivery. Because if you deal with the word doesn't judge, the word convicts. But I think oftentimes the personality and the opinion of the man or woman disseminating the information, they can have certain judgments and biases, and it can come out the wrong way. And so oftentimes people struggling with issues, they run out of the church because they've been hurt by those in the church. And so there's so many people who are not being healed. Their issues are not being dealt with in the church because some of us aren't equipped equipped to do that. And so that's why it's important, as the co-pastor said earlier, bringing experts into the church who can address certain issues.
Right, and that's where we get to this point, because we were talking earlier, you said, I'm not a preacher, but in a way, you are kind of a modern-day leader, preacher, teacher, because I think, in my opinion, which means nothing, but just hear me out, we need to go about getting these topics in the churches and ministering in different ways,
yes.
not just from the pulpit.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
I think we need to take a holistic approach.
I love it.
To the Bible. And there are spiritual issues that we have to deal with, but then there are also social issues. It's interesting because when I go to colleges, the first question they ask me is, are you a minister? But when I go to churches, the first question they ask me is, are you a motivational speaker? So I don't fit anywhere
right.
I go.
But you fit everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
God put a special anointing on me and to do things in a particular way. And at first I was very uncomfortable, but, coming into my own, I just have to be who God created me to be. And it's making an impact on, churches and colleges all over the country.
Because it's very attractive, too, to see someone operating in the purpose that God has them here for.
Yes,
and that's another thing people are always looking for. Don't you hear that? What is my purpose? What am I here to do? Especially young people. Tell us what we how can we get a hold of that?
Understanding what your purpose is?
Yeah.
Get in God's face. See, everybody was created to do something.
I agree with that.
Everybody has a gift, a talent, or an ability. The problem is we attach our own plan to the gifts of God rather than seeking his purpose. And so God anoints us and gives us certain things to do, and we can pervert it, which can cause us to be... See, I have a concept called being a successful failure. If you can succeed in life doing something that you're not destined to do, so you can be very successful, but you're a failure because you're not doing your assignment.
Right.
And so when you do your assignment, there are certain provisions God gives you, blessings that God gives you. When you stay on the lane that God wants you to be in, then your world will begin to change and all around you.
Was your assignment, or one of your assignments, the Couples Academy?
It actually, you know what? I found my purpose over the last 14 years. I've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And many people ask me, so what qualifies you to talk about relationships? Well, I was an African-American studies major, and so I took a special interest on the African-American community and family. And so after graduation, I got training as a family and marriage therapist and counselor. And so for those many years, I've been dealing with these issues. And as I've grown, I've gotten married. I have 4 beautiful girls now. And so seasons change, and so God has put another calling on my life to deal with marriages. So I deal, see, you have to understand.
And for such a time as this.
Exactly.
Is marriage not in the biggest crisis it's ever been?
It's a humongous crisis. I think the problem is many of us haven't really understood the 4 seasons of a successful relationship. You have the dating season.
I love this. Now listen, guys, if y'all, guys and girls and women and men, whomever, if you're watching, now you're getting ready to get some of the Couples Academy right now. Now go ahead. Let's see what season Travis and I are in. Go ahead.
In the church, when you say the word couple,
yes,
most people automatically associate that with being married.
Oh, I did.
Right?
Yeah.
But you can be a couple outside of marriage, and there are 4 seasons. There's the dating season.
Okay.
There's committed courtship. There's engagement.
What's the difference between committed courtship and dating?
Well, I call the dating season the selection process. It's just like a job interview. You go on a selection process.
Who does the selection?
Well, we should be.
Each of us, the man and the woman.
We should be doing the selection process. And we should be led by God in our selection. But unfortunately, our selection is based upon 2 things: physical attraction and emotional desirability.
The bedroom lies right there.
So as long as as long as this person looks good and can make me feel good, we think that that's enough to secure a relationship, but it's not. And so that's why you need the second season, which is committed courtship. That is the getting to know you phase. You get a job, they put you in a 90-day probationary period. They're seeing, will you live up to what you said in that interview? So you have to begin to discover and see who that person is. Then you enter into engagement. That's the season of preparation. And then finally the season of marriage, which I call the final, or should be the final frontier. So when you
I like that.
When you understand the seasons and you can transition through each of them effectively
and healthy.
Exactly.
Healthily.
You can have a phenomenal marriage.
Wow. I'm overwhelmed.
So what you do before
hold
say...
on. We got to go. That's the second segment.
Okay.
We got to go to music because I'm still processing my seasons. Travis and I are the final frontier, but how well is that frontier going to prosper? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Daryl Petrie right now is going to sing a song that he has written called Turn Around. Thanks, Daryl.
You've left your loving home so you could just run wild. Seldom thought of doing right or being reconciled. You haven't cared about the greed that you have left behind. As a prodigal, you've been a blind, rebellious child. Well, turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. Two open arms are waiting for you just inside His gates. And I'm glad to say the Lord always forgives mistakes. So turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. Well, the good times started taking a turn for the worse. Then you started wishing that you had put Jesus first. 'Cause the wine and wild living just increased your thirst. Now you've made your bed with swine and feel like you were cursed. Well, turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. Two open arms are waiting for you just inside His gate. And I'm glad to say the Lord always forgives mistakes. So turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. You've wondered what might happen when you get back home. Will you hear a welcome applauded in spite of seeds you've sown? Friend, the Father's waiting with a robe and ring in hand. You've had no way of knowing all that He's had planned. So turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. Yeah, two open arms are waiting for you just inside His gates. And I'm glad to say the Lord always forgives mistakes. So turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. And I'm glad to say the Lord always forgives mistakes. And I'm glad to say the Lord always forgives mistakes. So turn around, head back home, your loving Father waits. Turn around and head back home, your loving Father waits.
That was wonderful, Daryl. Thank you so much. We've been sitting here. I'm telling you, we are like yin and yang.
Yes, ma'am.
I think we're like brother and sister. Wouldn't you say that?
Yeah, we have a great connection. I mean,
Well,
I've
I
just
say
been
all the
impressed.
time. You know, I say this all the time, and I say it to the viewers. You know, I'm just a white woman. I'm a black woman trapped in a white body. I say it all the time because I tell you, it's the realness you're bringing right now that
Yes,
I
ma'am.
connect with. I'm absolutely connect with what you're saying about this couples thing, and I like how you're being bold about it and you're not being shy. And I'm tired of talking. I want to hear what you have to say. So you've done everything. You're a speaker, writer, motivational speaker. Counselor. You even done reality TV.
Yes. We just
I can totally see you doing reality TV.
TV One,
Okay.
African American network, recently had
Love
a show, great, called Love Addiction.
Okay.
And it was really about people who were in toxic, parasitical relationships.
Like what would an example of that be? There's some
For
people watching this
instance,
in
you had all types of scenarios. You
Okay.
had a woman who was suffering from lupus that was being preyed upon by a player who slept with many different women and was financially taking advantage of her. You had another situation where you had a 29-year-old man dating a 52-year-old woman, and the challenges of age and all the complexity.
Oh, that's
and
a cougar.
she's still married to her man, and her husband's financing her lifestyle.
So it is toxic.
So there are many different scenarios, and many people are caught up in these toxic, parasitical relationships and don't know how to get out because they haven't developed what I call emotional intelligence. See, many times we operate out of our emotions, and usually we don't use logic and reason. So while our mind is telling us to get out, our bodies and our emotions keep pulling us back into a relationship that may not be good for us. And so we get caught up in these love addictions.
Yeah, but for women, dude, that is so hard. hard.
It is.
Because we women, I'm just saying from a woman's point of view, we're emotional creatures. How do you address that?
But that's the purpose of Couples Academy, because we believe that if you are taught and trained on how to operate in a successful relationship, it will work.
But that makes sense. We're trained on how to drive a car, but we're not trained on how to have a relationship and how to be married.
Well, most of what you do in your adult life was based upon what you saw in your home. So we learned through observation and participation. So whether it was good or bad, we're going to carry the same behaviors because we've been socialized and conditioned to believe and think a certain way. And so we play that out in our adulthood. And so a lot of the things that we do in the name of love aren't love at all. And so Couples Academy is committed to teaching classes to educate. We want to create challenges to empower. Think about it. Most couples deal with challenges all the time. But we want to be intentional in the challenges that we give couples to strengthen their relationships.
See, there's that word again. And God is just bringing that word over and over and over to me personally. It's the word intention.
Yes. Yes. It's powerful. Because
doesn't everything start with intention?
It does. It does. It starts with intention. And when you are intentional in trying to help your relationship and perfect your relationship, you can do it. And I think the problem is that many of us just don't know what to do. We haven't had good examples. When you look at society, when you look at what's on television, when you look at people all around you who are suffering in their marriages or their relationships, you feel as if, there's no hope for me. But whenever you say there is no hope, you're slamming the door in the face of God. And so we want to bring hope and healing to marriages because we want to place marriages on the path to fulfillment.
Do you address singlehood, women and men who are single looking for that mate?
I've spent 14 years talking to singles.
Well, talk to my friend Amy in the camera who's watching right now. She's single and she's really a great catch.
There seems to be a civil war that exists today between men and women. And it seems that no matter, and that was my motivation.
What do you mean by that?
That was my motivation for writing why we hate black women and why we should love them. Like particularly in the African American community.
You could just say why we hate women and why we should love them, because I think you're onto something here.
I mean, 42% of African American women have never been married. Over 70% of our households are run by single parent mothers, women.
And strong women, might I add. I have to just include that. Now, single mom, you rock.
But now let's speak to that, because that also creates a challenge. Many women have been forced to be strong.
Okay.
They've been forced to play roles that they were never designed to play. And so in essence, we're raising our daughters and loving our sons. And so now there's an identity crisis in our community today. You have men acting like women, women acting like men. There was a time when we had pretty women and working men, but today we have a whole lot of pretty men and working women. We've switched roles, and we've got it all messed up.
You've got to go back because it was so deep, and you just really hopped over it. We're raising our daughters.
We're raising our daughters and loving our sons.
And when you say we, you mean mamas.
Absolutely, because unfortunately, if 70% of the households are run by women, then there's another side of the equation. And let me just tell you about the Caucasian
communities too. The women running that household too.
Absolutely.
I'm just letting you know. And they might not say it, and Daddy might be there, but they're running it.
And listen, we want to applaud the women for the phenomenal job that they have done. They've done a tremendous job.
But we don't want to do all that.
No.
We don't want to do all that.
You know what? I have 4 daughters, and oftentimes I'll take my daughters.
Can you believe that? I have 2 sons, and it's just, I'm thinking, why, Lord? And I'm sure you're saying the same thing.
When I go to the Walmart, when I go out to the mall, and people see me alone with my 4 daughters, because I'll take them with me. Oh, you're such an awesome dad, and you're such a... But I'm like, no, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm supposed to do.
But you're right. People do say that.
And if men... I think that as women have progressed and have empowered themselves, unfortunately, a lot of our men, their development has been arrested.
Is that our fault as women?
No, I don't think it's your fault as women. I think,
I'm just asking.
It's all about personal responsibility. We can point the finger at many different things. We can talk about society. We can talk about history. We can talk about the disadvantages of being whatever we are in society. But at the end of the day, when you point the finger, there are 3 fingers pointing right back at you. And the lowest common denominator in every relationship you enter into is you, because you take you everywhere you go. I mean, if you've ever been involved in a relationship full of issues, think about the word issues. Issues. It's you. You're the one with the issues. And so you have to deal with yourself and your stuff first. And so if you're not whole, if you're not complete, you're going to bring that brokenness into your relationships.
I'm telling you, I feel like he has just read my mail. I'm just kidding. I'm really not, because I think there is, like I said, I want you to speak to the single woman, especially my friend who's out there who's wonderful, vibrant, loves the Lord, and is really trying to bring love to her through prayer and just through intention.
The first thing I would say is don't believe the hype. Because if you walk around with a mentality that says there are no good men out there, then you will draw to you exactly what you think, right? So if you have an attitude of scarcity, you won't find any good men.
And you come from a place of lack.
There you go. If you have an attitude of abundance, you'll be tripping and stumbling over men everywhere you go. So it all starts in the mind.
So there you go.
The mind is a powerful, powerful thing. And then it's about learning social skills, learning, how to interact with the opposite sex, and learning about who you are as an individual. A lot of times we don't know who we are. See, there's 3 relationships that every person must master. There's a relationship that we have with God. That's what we call our vertical relationship. The relationship that we have with ourselves. That's what we call our internal relationship. Then the relationship we have with others, that's what we call our horizontal relationships. The problem is we spent so much time focusing on horizontal relationships that we never took the time to develop the internal and the vertical, thus not having any foundation to stand on. And so because of that, we are not equipped to enter into healthy relationships. Listen, if you're going to be single and sad, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be married and mad. But if you are single and satisfied, then you can be married and gratified. So who and what you are before you say I do is a prediction of who you may be.
So you're saying what you are, who you are, draws someone to you.
We're magnets. You draw to you who and what you are. So, we talk about women in the list. Many people talk about, oh, you shouldn't have a list.
And we might have them written down, but we got a list.
You have a list. And there's nothing wrong with a list.
Yeah.
You can have a list, but the key is become your list first. Become your list and then seek out what you're looking for on that list. Then you qualify to receive everything that you have on that list. Does that make sense?
Perfect. And I'm sitting here thinking, am I everything on my list? And the answer is no. I'm gonna work on it, honey. Well, let's talk a little bit about what God has for you in your future, because I could talk to you for about 4 or 5 hours, and I've even got something I want to talk to you about after this. So don't forget,
Yes,
come be on another show. But I want to talk to you about what you see God doing for you, because you're from Jersey. You're
Yes,
a Jersey boy, and you've just relocated to Atlanta, so people can get a hold of you if they need counseling or want to find your books.
Absolutely. Well, God brought us down here 3 weeks ago, and everything we do, we try to make sure that God is ordering our steps. And He put a passion within both my wife and I to really help couples, as we said, whether married or non-married, to really enhance their relationships. And so whether that comes in the form of classes or counseling, or just, we have a social